Right, good evening, viewers. I hope you can see us, and welcome to the tonight's the Tuesday show. We are going to be talking tonight about the arms fair at the Excel Centre. I'm slightly nervous about how this show is going to go because at the moment I'm trying to run my own desk, and that's a little challenging. So there we are, we're just too popular. Tonight I'm going to introduce you to our guest, who is Samantha Patel. Samantha comes to us with a huge degree of qualifications. She's currently the chair of Redbridge Palestine Solidarity Committee, and she's also just retired, finishing her term of office as president of Redbridge NEU. As normal, if you want something, I'll ask you one. And we did, and we only asked her yesterday, so we're very pleased to see her. Samantha, if you could let us know to begin with, what actually is a DSEI, these unpronounceable letters, the DSEI that's going on down at the Excel Centre? What is it?
DSEI Equipment International, and it's, in my words, it's like a Westfield of military arms, really, of coming to buy lots and lots of horrific weapons that are out there destroying and killing the very people that we are hosting as refugees, or taking, just helping people to come and settle here that are escaping from these places. So it's something that's been going on for a very long time, since I think 1999, and it's predominantly been held in East London, and it's unacceptable. It's not incredibly popular. It is definitely with the government and the companies themselves, but most certainly not with the people of East London. All sorts, just people knowing what horrors come with it. And here we are having it hosted at the Excel, this month.
Yes, I think it has in the past sometimes been. I remember we used to have it in Millwall docks, and they used to bring huge warships along for people to have a look at. And I've heard of rich people going off to buy a yacht or two to go do a bit of cruising. But this was actually, come and look at our warship. Do you want one? I don't know how much they would have cost. So what sort of arms? I mean, is it just some guns and some tanks, do you know? Or what actually?
It would be, it's a variety, of, the bombs, that, I don't even know all the different varieties of weapons that you can get out there that they'll have on show, but it'll be all high tech, and we know the traditionals of the splinter bombs and everything else out there. So it's obviously a high level of spending that will be taking place by governments, and it's not on. And we've had a pandemic, we've had so many different movements, we've got Afghanistan happening, and yet, for 72 years we've got the plight of the Palestinian people, and our government this government has actually committed more on their budget than other European countries this year. An extra 16.5 million pounds, which is the largest increase in the last 30 years. And again, you could even say, this government is a party of warfare and not necessarily welfare, as we know, because we've got the imminent tax rises, haven't we? So that just, will top up, we'll charge more on the national insurance and take more from there, cut the universal credit, but hey ho, we're going to spend an extra X amount on our warfare.
This is obviously it's a very special day that on which we're talking, because it's a day on which Boris Johnson has announced that the Tory government will not keep to its election promises and is going to charge us all more tax. And yes, you're right. You sort of wonder, don't you, if we didn't have this weapons expenditure, what actually we could afford. I mean, I think the international spending on arms is something like $3 trillion a year. So goodness knows which
Well,
countries
yes.
are actually doing most of that.
I mean, those figures themselves are just, beyond imagination. And I know that many years ago, when we looked at military warfare, it was argued, possibly by many lecturers at the time, in the 90s when I did my degree, that, just for 1 year, if all these countries, all these states and governments ceased, or gave their budget, their military budget, defence budget, whatever you want to call it, to welfare, you could literally feed, clothe, educate every single child on the planet, so it just goes to show that this is where the largest amount of spending is. So priorities are not in the right places.
So, do you know which sort of people go to these arms expenditure, these arms sales? Who's actually got the money these days to go and buy all these weapons?
Well, it's going to be big old governments, really. We've got our campaign for the DSEI, in particular from the Palestine Solidarity Campaign, is that Israel will be there purchasing, different products, different weaponry, which would be the very ones that they'll be using against, all Palestinians, whatever background they're from, and this is why. It's not just, PSC, but it's, the CND, Quakers, lots and lots of different groups and movements, humanitarian-based, activist-based, that will be there to, protest and to speak up and to say that this is not on. I mean, even Sadiq Khan himself has said that it's not a desirable thing. It shouldn't be here. I personally think he should go further on this, put his foot down a bit more. But I'll give you an example. Newham Council, for example, they've always been opposed to the arms fair, and it's a stain on the people of East London. East London is a vibrant area. It's an insult. It's very diverse. You're talking about communities from all parts, everywhere, all corners of the world.
I should have said we don't because somebody's taken our phone out to a different broadcast, so we're not having a studio phone tonight. Unfortunately, people can't phone into the studio, but people can certainly comment on our Facebook page. So thank you, Miriam, who's been commenting. I hope that the sound issues have cleared up a bit. I hope it's easier to hear now. And Miriam says that the government has done, the UK government has done a defence review, and it has decided to add £16.5 billion to the defence spending of the UK, which is a 30% increase. So that's a bit much, isn't it? I don't know how much they're hoping to raise out of the tax increases they've announced today that are going to fund the NHS and social care, allegedly. But if they hadn't had that 30% increase, I mean, that's something like £5 billion.
It's a remarkable increase, isn't it? And if anything, people should take from this that this is where the government's priorities lie. It's not with the people. It's not with its own citizens. It's not with its own communities and society. And we don't need to keep repeating. Everyone has seen from themselves what's happened, especially with the pandemic in the last 20 months, and even before that, with the austerities and everything else, we've really had a hard time. Society, communities, grassroots groups, charities, local organisations, you name it, everyone's been hit hard in some kind of way, and yet the priorities lie in, with arming, you know, all
Yes.
weapons.
Yes, it's a massive spend. I often wonder if they had to raise the money that they spend on defence, if they had to actually raise it, you know, through a voluntary tax or through standing on the street with buckets or whatever, how much they would actually get. So, but there they are. So that's a bit. I'm going to have to do some research and find out what this national insurance increase is supposed to, and extra taxes on pensioners is supposed to raise, and then we can see how much that minimum £5 billion compares. So Miriam has also told us that there's 1,600 companies at the Arms Fair. That's
Yes,
an awful lot.
it is. It's a lot. That's a phenomenal number. Even trying to imagine, you know, around about 1,600 companies that are all going to be there at some point with some representatives doing what they're doing. You know,
I can't say I've ever been to the Excel for fun, but I have been there to broadcast on the occasional election count, because Tower Hamlets likes to count its elections over in Newham for some reason, which makes it very difficult for people to come and mill around like they used to do when the counts were in Tower Hamlets. But why it is they've gone to Newham, I don't know. But they hire these aircraft hangars, which are a tiny bit of Excel, and they put the count in one corner and the journalist at another, and we do these long distance photographs. So it must be a big place, because even the small part that Hamlets hires is very small. And the only other thing I remember about Excel is that there's a set of stairs in the middle of the sort of bit that goes up the middle, the concourse, and on the set of stairs there's a sign, I don't know if it's still there, and it says disabled toilets downstairs, pointing to the stairs, which seems sort of a bit over the top. Anyway, so somehow they've crammed 1,600 companies in, probably no warships, unless they put them in the docks. Miriam has kindly helped us out by saying that she agrees it's the governments who go there to buy. But there's also two things. I wonder if there's any, when there's a conflict in a small country, they quite often seem to sort of call in some sort of, well, basically private paramilitary sort of troop, don't they? So I often wonder if it's actually governments who buy, or if it's sort of third-party small companies who act on behalf of governments. Mercenaries, that's what I'm looking for.
That's the way it's all going now, isn't it? Just like with Grenfell, it's a local authority, local council property, but then you've got several different companies that have been, privatised to come in, and contracts to then do this and that, and that's it. Takes the accountability and away, doesn't it? It takes the spotlight from off the government, so to speak, with these other companies. Yeah, definitely, all these different factions going on with supporting this, horrific event. Really, it's not on, and we should not be silenced by it, and we should not be. We have every right to speak out and speak up and say enough is enough. This is not on.
Well, there's also Miriam suggests that there's also quite a lot of networking that goes on, and actually the DSEI website itself says come here and network, and you wonder who's meeting whom. Sort of companies meeting ministers of defence. There must be some sort of quite close relationship between them if governments are such good customers.
Yeah, they're going to be the most prominent customers as well, aren't they? No one's really going to have as much money as them to go shopping and spend on these and to buy these these weapons of mass destruction, you can call it, because it is war leads to destruction and death. And on the one hand, we're hosting. Our city, our wonderful city, is hosting a place where you can come and buy all these, these weapons as such. But on the other hand, we're, all the local churches and mosques and, synagogues and so many different organisations within the communities are there, working endlessly, tirelessly, trying to get to call out to people to bring to donate for the refugees that we're going to be accepting or have already accepted, and the irony of it. The irony of it, it
It's
really
a great
is.
contrast. Yes. I mean, it makes you wonder who the US is, who the UK is trying to impress, doesn't it? With this high level of spending, it's like we're still a major power or something. We're not, are we?
Well, no, and the US, already since 9/11, we've got figures as that they've spent, $21 trillion on war since 9/11. No sign of ceasing on that. You've got drones that have killed children. There was a drone attacks that killed families in Afghanistan last week. Then you've got, investments in cyber security with firms, all there trying to develop it over decades just to continue with the oppression of people.
What do you mean by cyber security? I mean, I know the word cyber and I know the word security.
Well,
I'm not sure
I'm
what
just
the two.
assuming, even for myself, I don't know all the details about it and all the ins and outs of it. But I mean, don't you think it's scary enough as it is that you can be in another part of the world and just, and drop something in the other side of the world, so accurately? And I don't know, I can't really speak about the amount of technology, but even the cyber, they're probably, I think plainly, like with cameras and everything, but it's obviously high tech. We've already got CCTV haven in this part of the world, and what they can do with that data, well, in our country anyway. I just, I'm just assuming it's I don't know, with our phones and the internet, who knows? But cyber, there you go. Cyber security is. I think you can go and study a degree in cyber security now. There's all sorts of. So, yeah.
Okay, they are. Just goodness knows what they're doing in there. Okay, I mean the other side, of course, of what we're trying to talk about tonight is there's this dreadful thing happening, and it seems I read an article in the East London News about it. It does seem that nobody does an equality impact assessment on the arms trade, do they? And you just wonder who is actually the victims of the arms trade. I mean, these countries that buy all these weapons, do they use them on men in suits? I wonder.
Doubt it very much, and that's another thing. I'm sure that they've got very good security to see who is coming to sign up to the DSEI, fair arms fair. I don't think the likes of you and I can just sign up and go and have a look around like it's the Ideal Home exhibition, Jenny. I really, because that's the only other time apart from that I've been there for, at the Excel in particular, and. I think even there they've probably got top security vetting everyone that are going to be coming along. So with the protests and the rallies and everything, like I said, there's so many different organisations and groups out there that are doing it. But there are a sequence of events if people would like to, find out more on. And I know when you had Sybil on your show a little while ago, we didn't have the dates as such there. Because she'd spoken about the big rise, hadn't she, Palestine. But the dates have been confirmed now. So
I
PSC
see in the comments. I see that Miriam is telling us that the Palestine Solidarity Campaign, they're taking I mean, in the past, I do remember. I remember when they first held these arms fairs in West India Key, I think it was. And then the police got wise to it, and people were doing very brave things, but sort of to go near to the exhibition and chaining themselves to railings into each other and all those kinds of protests, which one has to respect. But it's ended up that there's just massive security now around the arms fair. So it's very difficult to actually go there and make a protest. And Miriam says that...
it has been.
So I'm pleased to see this year, that some of the protests are not just that kind of, we have to go to the arms fair, but there's space for people to protest nearby. And Miriam says that I see in the comments that Palestine Solidarity Campaign are using Cundy Park E13.
Yes.
So
yeah, that's at 6:30 on the 16th of September. And then there's another, date for your diaries on the 12th of September, where there's going to be a march from Forest Lane, all the way through to Central Park in East Ham. So that's another one that will definitely be a good one. We've got lots of speakers lined up for that event. And then I think we've got CND that are doing something on the 14th. I've just got dates upon dates upon dates. But definitely on the 12th, if I just read out, so it's Resist DSEI, Stop Arming Israel demonstration. The assembly is at 1 p.m. at Forest Lane Park in E15, and then marching to Central Park.
That's Saturday, yes?
Sunday, the 12th of September. Sunday the 12th, yes. So the first meeting at 1 p.m. At Forest Lane Park, E15, and then going to march down to Central Park for the rally with a host of speakers. Which is fantastic. And I did have a list of all the speakers somewhere, and I'm no doubt someone will probably pop it up in the chat. But yes, we're hoping for that to be really successful and to get lots and lots of people involved. The one on the 16th is at Cundy Park. And because you're quite right, with the amount of security around the ExCeL, it's very, very difficult to have anyone or any of us to be out there organising ourselves. So it's Newham land, it's Newham turf, isn't it? So we're using the other areas as much as possible to be able to highlight this awful events. Even I just wanted to say, Jenny, they've also got I don't know if you're aware, with Liverpool, the city of Liverpool that's hosting the arms fair as well. I'm not sure if you're aware of that.
Oh, it's in two venues.
Yeah, so there is traditionally it's always been around here, but there's a rally. Even if you go on the PSC website, it will give you more details. But the arms fair in Liverpool, and I know that I was in Liverpool just 2 years ago. Oh, when am I 21? 3 years ago. I've lost concept of years now since COVID. For the NEU conference, and but this year it's going to be held, and the mayor of Liverpool is saying, well, there's nothing that can be done about it. It's on council property, but there's not much they can do about it. But I think most recently, I think there's been, okay, well, maybe it's not a great thing. And Kevin Courtney, who's the joint general secretary for the NEU, he has written an open letter to the mayor of Liverpool just to say, well, you know what, this is not on, it's unacceptable, and the NEU will rethink about using the conference centre there again in the future for their conferences. So it's about putting pressure on, it's about standing up and saying what you have to say, and just trying to
that's interesting, because I think a week or so ago we celebrated the 40th anniversary of the demonstration that founded the Greenham Common Women's Peace Camp, and I think perhaps sometimes we've forgotten how much power people have. I mean, direct action, like I was talking about earlier, is I certainly respect it, but I think we have to think of some other ways personally of campaigning as well. It's very interesting to hear what you said about the NEU person with that open letter, because earlier today I wrote in East London News, perhaps we should actually look at ExCeL. Okay, I mean, it's owned by, I think, some Arab state, is it? Some company based somewhere in the Gulf or something. And
probably.
Obviously, Newham Council can't tell it what to do. It's a private company. Things don't work like that, so on and so on. But Newham Council could say it will never book the Excel again, and Tower Hamlets Council could find somewhere else to have its election counts. It doesn't have to go to Newham to do it. And I'm sure we can't have a vigil or a camp outside the Excel Centre. That would just I'm sure somebody would move us off very quickly. But I don't see why we can't sort of target some of the other companies that come to the Excel Centre and say, do you realise your show, Ideal Home exhibition, wedding exhibitions there are there, boat exhibitions are all being tainted by the fact that, these killing machines, whether they're small guns or large tanks, these killing machines have been in this venue. Do you want to be associated with them? And it's a shame that we can't sort of pick that up and sort of have this different kind of ongoing protest. But it sounds like the NEU is making the first step, so that's all very good.
Yeah, proud of the NEU, honestly. I mean, it was good of Kevin Courtney to take that action, and it's about rethinking or what else can we say or do. And it was that open letter really to say, well, we will rethink in using that place again. And I do think that's another way just to show that, resistance to what's happening. The Palestinian led rally for Thursday the 16th at Cundy Park, that's at 6:30. I mean, we've got a host of speakers and they're all Palestinian speakers actually. We've got Ahmed Massoud, we've got Salma Dubar, we've got Ben Jamal, Samira Skandar, Omar Mafid, Mohammed Four, Heba Hayek, Dana Abul Jabin, Nora. So lots and lots of fantastic speakers just coming together to show solidarity and to speak up and to speak out. And the CND rally is on the 14th of September. And I know they've got speakers such as Andrew Feinstein. I'm not sure about the location of that one. Look, there's, like I said, the Quakers, there's so many, it's very hard to keep up to date with absolutely everything, but there is so much information out there, and it really is worth pursuing just to find out, to become aware and to talk about it and to make others aware, because that's one of the, perhaps not such, maybe a downside, we're in metropolis. We're busy getting on with our lives. There's so many things that we're not aware of. The different marches that have been taking place. The groups just the other day marching against us accepting any refugees here. I mean, it's, the beauty of freedom of speech and being able to speak out against whatever. But even there, it's, I don't know. I mean, that's a shame that there was, I don't know what the numbers of people out there that were protesting, but we have to be able to exercise our voices and our rights and our individual liberty and our collective of speech.
Well, you've obviously been out in Newham. I mean, the arms dealers didn't have to go out in Newham asking people to come and support there, but I think you lot have been out. BSC's been out in Newham and surrounding areas. I think Whitechapel as well. Asking people to come to demonstration. I mean, how's it gone down locally? What have people actually said? Most people tell you to go away. They like the arms fair, or what?
No, I think it's more about that they're not aware of it, and then we're making them aware of it. It's like, oh, okay, did you know? And it's like so close to home, it being in East London. I mean, we hosted, we've just launched our Redbridge branch on the 26th of July. Of PSC branch, and there's a fantastic group of us that are very early stages, meeting and trying to get together and take action. We actually had our first stall on Saturday, just gone at Ilford Town Hall, and the mood out there, people were receptive. They were willing to stop and have a chat and talk and buy some products. And and contribute and donate, but it was positive. It wasn't. You just don't know what to expect with our first stall. We didn't know what to expect, and we had a lovely fellow from the Waltham Forest branch, Jim, who said, from his opinion, he thought it was good, but the people so many were unaware, and we were handing out leaflets saying, "Do you know? Did you know? This is what's happening. This is taking place right now. It's all being organised." And they're like, "Wow, okay." We've been leafleting and supporting our brothers and sisters, in Newham, PSC, and with Tower Hamlets. It's great. The East London PSC is just like this hub of the different areas that work together, and lots of us have been communicating, and we've been joining other branch meetings, to be quite honest, to support and come up with ideas, and show solidarity.
Well, it's obviously good to hear that you had a good stall. I mean, how's it working out with the Redbridge branch of PSC? I mean, what have you been finding out is the local attitude towards Palestine? We had bombings of Gaza again earlier this year. Big protests seem to have gone a bit quieter now. Is there support for the Palestinian people, or has it all sort of?
I think that there is support. There is. I mean, I don't know if you were out there during that time in May, June. But the march it gives it that momentum, doesn't it? There were lots of people. I took part in that march, and what was beautiful to see was that you had people from all different backgrounds, communities. People might have assumed it was predominantly a march full of Muslims. Well, yes, there were lots of Muslims there, but there were also poignant, significant other groups of people from different backgrounds, different faiths. There were some Hasidic Jews actually that were there, linked arms with imams. I mean, amazing. Walking down, marching. There were so many different groups of people, and this is what I'm saying. It's some people feel that the media wants us to feel pressurized, that we shouldn't be speaking about Israel or anything, that this could be perceived as, anti-Semitic and everything, but it's absolutely not. And, there's some really good websites out there, that have been, where they've got definitions of anti-Semitism formulated by, Jewish scholars, and rabbis, and it tells you clearly there is a separation. A criticism on a government is not a criticism on any group of people based on their ethnicity or their religion. It just simply is not the case. So that march gave it, spurred and churned people into trying to show interest in everything, and that's from that some of us got together and formed Redbridge PSC with the help of Sybil and other PSC executives and members. But the feeling locally, if I speak for Redbridge as such, there is support out there for Palestine, definitely.
So obviously the focus is on. I mean, I think if we were left alone, we'd get on better than a lot of people give us credit for. Yeah. We had in Tower Hamlets, although it's going back about 5 years, some marches organised by the English Defence League. I can't remember what their slogan was at the time, who they were against, but they were against somebody or something. And I think particularly we had a Bangladeshi mayor at the time, or a mayor of Bangladeshi heritage, and I think that made them a bit cross. And two things stick in my mind. One is sort of hearing about the coach carrying the demonstrators got very tangled up in Stepney Way, which is not a big enough road to really take a coach in a hurry. And they were in such a hurry, somebody hadn't shut the door properly. And a woman fell out of the coach, a woman EDL demonstrator fell out of the coach. And there were quite a crowd of young Bangladeshi people following the coach. and sort of jeering at it. And they had to pick the woman up and put her back on the coach so the coach could go off so that they could start jeering again. So that was, young Muslim gangs of young Muslim men are not always the threat that people may believe. And the other thing I remember from that time was the organising meeting for all the protests, which took place in a local synagogue. And we had, as well as sort of well-known peace activists and anti-fascist demonstrators, anti-racist activists from our borough, we had the rabbi whose synagogue it was. We had representatives of the East London Mosque there, and we had the Tower Hamlets Rainbow Alliance, which was a lesbian and gay community group there. And after we'd planned whatever we were planning, the rabbi offered everybody whiskey or orange juice, and it just really was such a mixture, organising very successful demonstrations. So I do think you're right.
And Jenny, that just proves the point. Diversity, cultural diversity, however you want to say it, it can work and it does work. And it's about coming together for those humanitarian reasons, despite your differing, beliefs and everything. This is making a stand against, whether it's Israel or any other country. It has to be said, and it had any groups of people that are suffering, that are, even though the Palestinians, everything they're going through, they're still standing strong, they're still resilient. The resilience that they've shown is phenomenal. The strength, that every place is entitled to self-determination. So what I'm saying is that, even the PSC, the members on our committee, we're all from different backgrounds. We've got prominent Jewish activists who have been, fighting for Palestinian rights for many, many years. It's not one-sided. It's not this clear cut that the media or United States or anyone else is trying to lead us to believe. It really isn't. And what you just said, your experience there of gatherings, getting together and working as a hub, as a community of different backgrounds, even if you've got the different views and morals, it's irrelevant. You're coming for that one single reason. It's like, the fight against racism. It encompasses everybody to get together, whatever.
So obviously, Redbridge PSC is concentrating now, as is East London PSC in Tower Hamlets and Newham, on the arms fair for the obvious reason. I think, there are quite a lot of companies and members of the government of the State of Israel there. So they're obviously quite big players in this arms exchange game. But maybe after this is over, we're going to, across East London, have to be looking at more solidarity with the Palestinians. Have you got any plans yet in Redbridge for what you might do in the future?
So, obviously we've just set up our local branch. We'll be looking to have regular, stalls, to join the BDS campaigns, which is, boycott, divestment, sanctions, which is had some successes. It's putting that pressure on those illegal settlements, from Israel. On Saturday, the 18th, is the day of action to boycott Puma. There's so many details on the PSC website. There's still lots to do. This is about us moving forward. This isn't organised. There is an event coming up on the 23rd of September. I'm just going to say it anyway. Actually, with a Labour MP, Sam Tarry, who this is his Zoom online event that he's organised. I'm going to chair it, actually. And he's got the Palestinian ambassador that's going to be there as a speaker, and they're talking about speakers from Gaza or, West Bank. So that's another evening to look forward to. But as a Redbridge branch, we're looking to support different groups where we can. But the PSC is about helping putting pressure on, supporting and fighting for the rights of, you know, Palestinian self-determination. And, you know, that really is what they've been doing for many, many years. And yes, there's lots of different events happening, but as such, it will have the highs, or the popular things that are happening at the moment. We have the march, and then we've had you know, the bike ride event, which was really successful, and there'll be other events. But in between all those events, it's making sure that we are regularly trying to reach out to the communities, different people, and supporting one another and seeing what we can do and where to move forward. But it really is, there's so much that goes on in between these events, and to organise these events, I take my hat off to all those people. You know, I can speak for PSC because I've been involved in so many of their meetings, and it's a real commitment, and it's a worthy commitment. And as a role model to my children, not just at school, but, you know, my own children, and it's something that you have to do. You know, sat there watching Nelson Mandela, you know, take his steps to freedom in when was it, 1990? I can't remember what year now, but as a young person during that time, you know, the voices of the youth is equally as important as the voices of everyone else. And I think, you know, we need to make sure that they are aware of what's going on around them, because I know it was always rolling off our lips back in the 80s, free Nelson Mandela. You know, it was it was, you know,
and it worked. It worked.
I mean, it worked, but it was hard work, and I wasn't old enough to partake as such. But we were definitely wise enough to know that it was inhumane what was going on. It's not acceptable in this day and age, and here we are again. There's lots of problems everywhere, but this is one that is unacceptable. And just make more and more people aware and change. The changes.
Yes. Well, in a minute, I'm going to ask you if you can just give us a recap on the details of the two biggest demonstrations coming up next week. I'll just say that when we get to the 18th of September, PSC is going to launch a boycott action against Puma. That's, again, Miriam, thank you for putting that in the chat. People may have seen that. You know, it sounds like we're going to have to do a lot more on Palestine on the Tuesday show, and hopefully people will join in. Bring your banners to the demonstration, whatever you're from, because, you know, it's not only you going out on the demonstration, you know, putting your feet on the streets, but also having a banner to show where you're from. You know, East London this, Tower Hamlets that, Newham something else, Redbridge something else. That really, really makes your presence very worthwhile, and I'm sure everybody has got something that they're from, you know, that they can bring a couple of neighbours along, or a couple of other people who work in your community centre or come from your school, and can actually make an impact at the demonstration. So, without further ado, if you've got the details handy, Sam, let's just go through the details of those demos again.
So, on the 12th, which is a Sunday of September coming up, there's a demonstration by the Newham PSC, and it starts at Forest Lane in E15, Forest Lane Park, and there'll be at 1 p.m. and there'll be a march all the way through the streets of Newham, that part of Newham, taking you to Central Park, where everyone will gather, and then you'll have a host of speakers that have been invited to come up on stage and speak to everybody. And on the 16th at Cundy Park, will be 6:30, which is Thursday, the 16th of September, there will be a demonstration and a rally there as well. Like we talked about earlier on, it was incredibly difficult. I mean, when we I took part in the meeting and trying to figure out all the different roads and routes and how we would be safe with people along the A13 and whatnot. So we decided it would be Cundy Park in the end, to get as close as we can. We can't get too close there because of security. Yes, and then already mentioned the boycott on the 18th of September. Yeah. Just
Right,
visit the website. Visit our PSC website. It's got everything there.
Yeah. Miriam's put a couple of links up, which I'm very grateful for. Because, as I said, I think I said earlier, I'm actually trying to look at the technical side of this broadcast, and which has been a bit distracting. But it also means I can't have too much else running on my computer, otherwise everything just freezes, which it did at the beginning of the broadcast. So hopefully people will take that to heart. I'll certainly put up a further reminder on East London News about the various events going on, and hopefully people will get out there. Now, we've had quite a few challenges today with putting this show together, and we've overcome them, and we've actually been able to talk about this important issue for the whole of this show. Maybe we'll have some shorter interviews in future shows. But I would just say to you as well, to everyone who's listening and who listens to the on-demand show, if you have a community event or a cause that you are trying to push and to follow, do come on. We do sometimes we have programs that last the whole program on one topic, and we talk about it in depth, and particularly like this when it's an important issue. And sometimes we will also do just little interviews with you to just show what's going on across our region. But hopefully, the oppression in Gaza, it's a lot of it is just so unthinkable, isn't it? We feel very secure here, particularly, you said younger people need to get involved, and some of them can't remember, or imagine a life outside a fairly free and democratic society that we have in East London. But you're right, we need to do something about it. I keep saying 4 more years and then I'll retire, and I never do. So that's plenty going on. Lovely. Okay. Well, thank you very much, Sam. I'm now going to try to close the programme, and that involves, first of all, saying goodbye to Sam. Thank you very much. And I'm going to try to
Thank you,
remove
Jane. Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
And come back soon. Yes, I've managed to remove Sam. So that's good. Thank you for watching. Please, if you've enjoyed the show, if it's been informative, please spread the word. Share a link to the show so that others can also catch up with what's happening. And hopefully that all went down well. As I said, do contact us if you have any community issues that you would like to highlight. We're always open to being approached. And hopefully we'll see you again next Tuesday at 10 o'clock. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you again soon.